There are lovers' leaps worldwide. In America, these tragic tales feature Indians. This is the first book devoted entirely to this subject. While the story varies according to the teller, the main elements are an Indian brave and an Indian princess from warring tribes who are prevented from marrying by her parents. The angered father, the chief, offers an otter skin to anyone who would kill the brave. Cornered on the rocky prominence, the brave knows he is about to be killed. The princess also realizes this and decides life would not be worth living without him. The two embrace and throw themselves off Lover's Leap to their death. That Indian legend is cast in bronze at Hannibal, Missouri's Lover's Leap Park. On the back of the memorial is an engraved and polychrome portrait of the couple within a heart. Folklorist Jan Harold Brunvand classifies such tales as fakelore. He wrote, most of these stories involve at least one Indian character. Many had a Romeo and Juliet plot, and all were told in the soupy language that invariably accompanies retelling of supposed Indian lore.
Our last two books were about rivers. Crystal and I encountered Lover's Leap legends on both the Osage and James rivers. At the junction of the Niangua and Osage River is a bluff with a sad story. Beautiful Delaware Princess Winona took a fatal plunge from it while pursued by Osage chief Okama. Her disapproved lover Minotus grappled with the chief. Both fell, joining the dead maiden at the base of the cliff. The Osage River is now dammed and Lake of the Ozarks fills the valley below. Some scenes from Ozark, a Netflix series about drug launderers, were filmed here.
We traveled to a bluff along the upper Mississippi where, in 1805, Lieutenant Zebulon Pike heard a tale about a Sioux woman who cast herself from a point of rocks and was dashed into 1,000 pieces on the rocks below. Maiden Rock, Wisconsin was the first recorded Native American Lover's Leap legend. In later retellings, Pike's unnamed Sioux woman became Winona. On a steamboat trip gathering material for his book, Life on the Mississippi, a loquacious passenger told Mark Twain a legend about the long-departed Winona. That tale had a unique happy ending. On the day of her forced marriage to the one she didn't love, Winona jumped from Maiden Rock, landing on her oppressive parents, killing them. She and her true love relocated downriver and lived happily ever after, though, quote, deprived of the sweet guidance of a mother's love and a father's protecting arm, unquote. That version, wrote the godfather of American realism, is a distinct improvement upon the threadbare form of Indian legends. 1 year after Lieutenant Pike's tale was published, the Baltimore Repertory likened the story to the Leucadian leap of the famous 5th century BC poet Sappho of Lesbos. Quote, who would have supposed that the rocks of the Mississippi were destined to be its rival, and that the rude breast of the savage should be the habitation of the heart that was to equal the desperate heroism of the Grecian poetess, unquote. In the early 19th century, Indians still stood in the way of settlement. At the same time, Native Americans were becoming icons of Romanticism. Quote, rude as these tribes are, we often observe among them surprising instances of sensibility and feeling, unquote, read the 1811 review of Pike's account. Clearly, the lovers' leaps of Indian princesses are derived from Sappho's equally undocumented jump.
Crystal and I visited other lovers' leaps, photographed them, and researched their legends.
last place we visited was Niagara Falls. Though Native Americans have basically ignored such fabricated folklore as lovers' leaps, in 1996 a group of local tribes did object to a related manufactured legend. For a century, tourists had been told a tale about a beautiful Indian maiden being sent over the falls as a sacrifice to the river god. Paintings, postcards, and souvenirs perpetuated this myth. The Maid of the Mist, already a declining motif in Niagara tourist promotion, became taboo due to Iroquois Nation objections.
We stand by our dedication for Mark Twain, who diagnosed America's sentimental romantic infection. Alas, his injection of realism was not a cure. Clearly, there are still sappy and maudlin expressions in the arts and literature of our times. Mark Twain winced at the prevalence of sentimentality in our culture and feared it would affect our political acumen. But he also believed in America's democratic promise, notwithstanding the credulity of its citizens and their indifferent literary taste.
Although lovers' leap legends have faded in popularity, it's likely the bluffs to which these fabricated stories were attached will still be attractions. Lovers' leaps were and are trysting places. Lovers will still come to cliff tops to gaze into the distance and contemplate their future.